Hello, 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 and welcome back to the GTD podcast. I am the Norix. I speak for the podcast. We are here once again for another episode, as per usual, I suppose. You know, it's a thing we do occasionally.
Just occasionally, not always.
Yes, I'm here
Very
with.
consistent recently.
I'm here as always, most of the time, anyways, with Matthew. We are currently missing a Devin, but it's fine. He doesn't need to be here. And a surprise return of our esteemed guest from last time.
He actually knows games.
Yeah, this should be.
Yes, I do. Sort of.
Comparably.
Yes, he's back as well. So I hope you enjoy what's to come. We have several things we're going to talk about today. We're going to be discussing what we've been doing this week, followed by, that's the proper use of that word, followed by some trailers, specifically the trailers for Tunic and Have a Nice Death. We'll be discussing both of those. Then we'll move on to host topics, the news, which is just the Game Awards, really. I didn't see any news that I personally wanted to talk about. So we're just going to talk about the Game Awards, or at least skim the Game Awards, Then the, shameless self-promotion in the end of the show. So let's just kick things off with Matthew telling us what he's done this week.
I've barely done any gaming, but the two games I played this week are Minecraft and Shining Force.
Wow, the two games you've played ever.
Shut up. I've played other games, technically.
I'm just gonna mute. There's a dog in the background.
That's
like Lego. Anyway, just one of the Lego games. Anyhow, yeah, I've been streaming Shining Force on my.
Really?
Yeah, I have.
That was very off the cuff, I assume.
I'm describing what I've been doing.
Well, no, I mean, like, I assume it was very off the cuff because you didn't say anything about it last week.
Well, I just started doing the actual proper streaming this week, and I only streamed once last week, and I didn't actually finish my sentence last week during the end segment.
Well,
we got distracted.
Whatever.
Either way, it's whatever. And then when I was talking to Zach a couple of days ago, I created just a Minecraft hardcore world to mess around on. And the funniest thing happened.
All right.
I spawned into a seed that I have been looking for, or at least been wanting a seed similar to for 1.18 for a project that I'm working on with actually everyone here is involved.
All right.
And it's a little continent that I can expand, or people can expand using different software. So it can be perfect for it. And it can be perfect for the getting used to the mod thing too, because there are some smaller islands around it. So it works as a little, what's the word for an area with a bunch of little islands?
An archipelago?
Yeah, it works as a little archipelago.
Yeah, I know that word because...
See, I can never remember
one.
Archipelago or peninsula.
Peninsula is when there is a piece of land jutting out from the main land mass.
Ah, okay.
So I think it's just called Florida.
Yeah, it's just Florida.
So yeah,
it's just Florida. Florida is technically a peninsula of the Americas.
It's a nice little archipelago, very pleasant.
United States, whatever.
I like it. I like the look, and I think it would work great. I just wanted to expand it a little for the actual thing, but it'll work for the other part of the project for like the testing, getting used to mods.
Mm-hmm.
But That's a fun thing that happened to Minecraft.
It's just random. You also could have just created one. Like there was nothing stopping you from doing that.
Well, if you create one in World Painter, I can't figure out how to make it work, and I've tried figuring it out, like doing different settings. I can't get things to actually generate on the island. Also, it doesn't really work with 1.18.
All right then.
Like compatibility wise, it'll have weird looking chunks in Spectator for the caves, probably. Because it's annoying to make caves in World Painter. At least for me. So I've been doing that. But I've also been playing D&D and working on a TTRPG because I went from modding 5e with Homebrew to hyper modding it with Homebrew to uber hyper modding it with Homebrew to just making a game system, which is a logical progression of events.
Yes.
Oh, and now I need to talk to a rocket scientist for a couple mechanics.
Why a rocket scientist?
Well, because I need to talk to someone who understands physics really well, and we have a rocket scientist in our family. So
I understand physics.
okay, do you understand how if a humanoid creature had the gliding type things of a flying squirrel, except it's more leathery? Follow me on this. How basically Dad helped me with a bit of it, but so that I don't have to figure out how the heck they wear clothes without hurting. Basically the wings go from here to here. But
so
it's
like a bat.
Yeah, and they're a lot lighter than a normal human.
Mm-hmm.
So that they can actually be lifted and glide with it. They can't fly, but they can glide. And so I need to figure out the exact physics of how your body weight it plays into it, how the gliding speed based on how long you're flying for tracks into the speed and how long it'll take you to get down to the ground based on how far up you are. And all of that other fun physics stuff, and then translate it into mechanics that actually make sense to other people who don't understand the math.
Right.
This is necessary.
I guess you can have fun with that.
This is necessary, okay?
Sounds necessary to me.
Sure it does. I can tell from your tone of voice.
Well, I definitely want to try whatever you make, but we'll see.
I'm not totally sure I'm going to work hit points yet. One suggestion from Dad was making like a table where depending on different attributes, the hit point die goes up and down. So like wizards go down by 2 digits, by 2 points, while giants go up by 1 point or something like that, like say hill giants. So if you're a wizard hill giant, you have D6 hit dice. I don't know.
Well, have fun with that mess that you are currently in.
I am.
Anything else?
Really complicated.
Anything else to inform us about?
Well, my party in a D&D game did something that I absolutely loved. They had the best party split ever, and then party combat. And then one of them used the Fates card to change events, but it was a kind of screwed up Fates card because of the guy who made it. So it wasn't really sure how to repath stuff, so it just transported the current characters into another mini timeline, erased that timeline, sort of merged it with the current one, and then made a bunch of opposites of those characters exist that had things play out differently.
Yeah.
Oh, and then in another party that actually was planned ahead of time, the party went back in time. So, normal stuff.
What is up with you, man? Actually, no. What is up with your parties? Like, why does this happen?
What do you mean? Why does what happen?
Legitimately, for playing D&D, I've had the stupidest parties, and I've had the best moments with parties and the worst moments.
Yeah.
Or I've had parties that were so incompetent that the NPC that was 4 levels lower than them was killing every single boss.
Wow.
That was that was
pathetic.
embarrassing. It's like,
Yeah,
dude,
that sounds about right.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, I've never had truly terrible players. I think, anyways. I've run too many games for me to remember, so I don't remember if any of my players ever did anything super out of. Oh no, never mind. The one time I accidentally ran a villain campaign where my players crucified a man and sent him back to his king.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember now.
I've never run a villain campaign, but
The players just did that. Like I didn't. They weren't supposed to be intentional.
Yeah.
The players just did that on their
Everyone was like,
in their
I-
own right. Like I
I've-
didn't
let's
set
just
out to make a
crucify him
villain
and send it
campaign.
back to the thing as a message. Why
I
not?
have played in 2 different groups that were villainous, and it was kind of hilarious. The first one, none of the party trusted each other. By session 1, we already had a party kill. Like a party member kill another party member.
I see.
And the person doing the killing was totally not me.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
I can definitely hear the truth in your voice.
And the sarcasm that isn't there.
Mhm.
Yeah. There was that party, we had one lawful good paladin. He was like, guys, stop murdering everybody. I kind of felt
Yeah.
sorry for the paladin because we were all very evil. The other party
Continue.
wasn't like as we hate all the other party members, but more like we're just straight up evil. We were basically a party of murder hobos.
I see.
Is the best way to describe that party. It wasn't me who was intentionally murdering everybody in that party this time, but
I see.
I kind of felt sorry for the DM because you'd have this one player just go, and I swing my sword.
Hmm.
And then I got the curse. Then I got a madness that made me forced my character to copy the character who is murdering everybody.
I see.
So that went swimmingly.
I can imagine. I'm visualizing it right now. Yep, it went well. It definitely went well.
Yeah, that campaign died.
Sounds like it did. The other thing I was going to bring up is the worst part with the villain campaign that I was talking about, the accidental villain campaign. The worst part about them crucifying a guy is that it came, first of all, it came out of nowhere. Second of all, they killed guys that knocked them unconscious and were bringing them somewhere. Like these guys were not trying to kill them. They were just trying to find information, and were taking them to, like, I think it was their king or something, because they like had an item that apparently wasn't theirs, and then they just killed all of them, crucified one of them.
Natural response, Aaron.
Shut up. They
Kill and crucify them.
They killed all of them, crucified one of them, and sent him
with a letter.
With a letter to the destination they were heading. So the king found out about what they did and proceeded to throw an army at them, because that's what happens when you crucify a man for no reason.
Oh,
and
we
then,
all felt like a village in a day, so
and then the party subsequently killed his army, or at least it wasn't an army, it was a small militia of like 40 people. But they were like soldiers.
Yeah, we may have become a cult.
Anyways, yeah. Oh, the other thing like sort of talking about that, because the reason I brought up the kill party outside of that is because I always have these thoughts as a DM of like, man, I really want to run this. And then my mind goes, that's never going to work. The players are just going to ignore it. Because I have these plot threads in my mind. It was like, oh man, it would be so cool if the players did this or went through this. And then it's like, it's never going to happen.
You should just try it, see what happens.
It's never going to happen. And
the fun thing is when you try to put together a party like that, which is just crazy, you can't.
Yeah.
You literally can't put a party together like that.
Players are like, nah, we wanted to play sensible people this time.
Hey, I managed it.
That's because it was the goal, Matthew.
Also, one of the prerequisites is that each character had a bout of insanity. So
there wasn't any other option in your case. But the other thing, like to bring it up an example of like something, like if I were to like say make a campaign, if I were to make something where the players had to like, because there's always the option of like the players lose, obviously, in any sense. But if I had to make a campaign, if I had to make an encounter where the players are supposed to do this thing, not because I want them to do it, but because it's the only logical thing they could do, they will just go down a different path that I didn't think about.
Oh, of course. Players will
I
always
know that will happen. And it's the other thing of like, I'm just rambling at this point, but it's the other thing of like, players are not stupid per se, but somehow
only when we're playing characters.
That's the thing. Like when you play characters at a table, somehow the IQs of everybody there drops by like 10.
Yes.
Because you have something like, oh, I hinted at this thing that the players just ignored. Like
or
if I
you
wanted
have
to make a fight against a villain that seemingly had no weaknesses, but I hinted at his weakness, the players wouldn't get that. They would just brute force it.
The problem is with 5e, it's just so easy to brute force a combat encounter.
Yeah, it is.
Like there is enough ways to kill someone around their immunities.
Yeah, but what I mean, like, outside of the game's immunities, I mean like a homebrew immunity. Like this guy is made of an element, and the only way to hit him is to do something specific to him. Like,
Even
oh,
then,
this guy has a power that turned his entire body into sand, and the only way to actually hit him is to use water on your weapons so they can physically make contact with his body. And it's like,
yeah, players aren't that smart.
I know, that's the thing. I can't run something like that because they're just gonna die.
That, or they're going to cast banishment or
Yeah, cast banishment.
hold person.
Or you right?
They'll cast hold person on him and then just try and drown him. They'll cast hold person and then knock him into a lake and then just wait.
No. Cast hold person and then use some really powerful fire spell to turn him to glass if he's made of sand.
Well, I mean, that might work. I don't know. It's just,
But what would happen?
Yeah.
I don't know what would happen.
Hilarious.
My last D&D session that I was playing in, the party that I'm running is currently on break because of Christmas. But the party I'm playing in, we're all fighting this character, and I come up with this archaic plan to attack him with Mind Slipper, a great spell that reduces saves, and then cast the Charms Person spell on him.
I see.
So
I can
I
see
hit
where
him
this
with
is
Mind
going.
Sliver, and he takes the damage. And then I cast Charm Person, and the DM goes, "Yeah, you know you just cast that on an elf, right?"
I see.
They're immune to Charm Person.
They're not. They have an advantage against charm magic.
Well,
Actually being put to sleep.
Some elven stat blocks have immunity.
Really?
yeah. It's because they're not player characters.
Yeah. PCs can't, they don't hand out immunities to PCs that often.
Not unless you get a boon.
Or you're a
Yes.
Yanti.
Yes. Anyways. Yeah, that. Anyways. To sort of bring the conversation back a little bit after a rant about players and D&D 5e specifically. So that's it for you, Matthew.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So I don't know. My brain just melted for half a second. So new guest Zachary, what's you been going on?
Well, it's mentioning D&D. We had a good session, and then after that session, we finally decided to ban the player who just never showed up. And then he went a little bit stupid. That's the best way to say it. And he got himself banned off a second server because of being rude to us.
I see.
Yeah, I'm just gonna end the story there because that was just dumb decision making 101.
Well,
show up at sessions.
Otherwise, I've mostly been doing 10-hour shifts daily. So most I get home and I play one around a monster train. I think I've touched Minecraft a little bit, and that's about it.
I see.
Being honest, the last week has been pretty busy.
Well, it is mid-December, so
Yeah.
well, almost mid-December. So it makes sense that work would be heavier than usual.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so that's all you've been doing this week?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Moving.
what have you been doing this week?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. What have I been doing this week? Well, similarly, I have not done all that much, because it's weird because we're only tomorrow will only be like a week and a half into the month, or pretty much, and it's like I don't know why, but the last week and a half has been real slow. Everything's been going by real slow. I don't know why, but it just feels like this month is dragging on a bit. Also, I haven't had a lot of time because of the, coming of Christmas. I need to get a lot of things ready.
That makes sense.
For a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But I did. Yeah, I basically just played more Smash Brothers, like I said before. However, this time there's something I want to bring up in accordance to Smash Brothers, and why I've just decided to not play online Smash Brothers ever again. Because, so here's something fun about the Smash Brothers Online feature. Something fun about Smash Brothers Online. So when you fight people in Smash Brothers Online and you win, you get these points that I don't remember what they're called, but you get like points from beating them, and it like raises this thing, and eventually if you get to 10,000 points, you get a character into Elite Smash, which is this special version of online Smash where only people that are on that level get to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it like, does, basically that's all it does. It kind of just it's basically just, if you have a character in Elite Smash and you play that character, you're only going to run into people with similar ranges in Elite Smash, or only people who have reached Elite Smash rather, in similar ranges, which is supposed to be good. Well, Smash Online is just kind of flawed in general, but it's what Smash Ultimate Elite Smash is supposed to do, is to just separate like players into skill categories. So if you're skilled, you can play against skilled players and not have to worry about certain things like spamming. That's never going to happen though, because of the way the system works. Also, the other thing that's fun about this point system is that you only get awarded these points after the match is over. Or more specifically, I worded this incorrectly, but basically, people can, after you have beaten them, disconnect from the online, and you will not get your reward for beating them. So you can go up against players who, after you beat them, and it says, game, they died, you beat them, they can just disconnect from online. It'll like freeze for a second. You'll go to the end screen and you will not get any points for beating that person.
Yeah, that would drive me crazy.
Which I will say does kind of get like, I don't know what the actual punishment for doing that is, because like you can get disconnected from Smash servers just because the servers are bad, and it'll give you the same warning as if you intentionally disconnected. So I don't know if there's a hard limit on that happening, or like I've never seen anybody be like have any restrictions put on them because they're not a fair sport about something.
Yeah,
I've never seen that happen.
I've only seen, what was it? Someone you can, in Splatoon, you can get banned for getting kicked. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're playing and you just leave the lobby. If you do that more than, I think, like 5 times, you get a timeout ban so that you don't keep leaving the server before the match is over.
Right.
Coward.
Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely don't. Like, it says you'll have restrictions placed on what you can do. I don't know what those restrictions are, because I've never seen anybody have them, or how many times you have to even do this before you get these restrictions placed on you. But anyways, obviously I was quite upset at what had just occurred, especially since the player I was fighting was not skilled in the slightest, and really only got as far as he did by just being a dickhead. I don't like he's not, it's not like, basically what he did was do the same 3 moves over and over again because they worked. Like he'll do down special, down smash, stuff like that over and over again because they work, and also because I happen to be playing Little Mac, which is the worst character in the game apparently.
Yes, like there is no question that Little Mac is the worst character in the game.
So it's just like, it doesn't help that the input lag is freaking awful. But the one thing I will say about this, I'm not going to be playing Smash Online ever again because it just makes me angry, and stuff like that can happen. But also, after I was angry, I just kind of felt relieved because I was like, oh, okay, well, at least I don't have a reason to come back now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was this weird sense of just like, well, I'm glad I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I haven't had a reason to play online Smash.
Yeah, there are more fun things I can do, like fight level 9 NPCs and get mad at myself for losing instead of the game.
Yeah. I haven't won. I am pretty terrible at Smash Bros. I'll admit this.
Mm.
There is no question. I am just straight up really bad at Smash, but I won't quit. Like, you don't just quit a match when you're about to lose.
Well, yeah, that's a really shitty thing to do. And the only reason you'd want to do that is so you don't lose points, because you lose points if you lose. So all he was doing was, and that's the other thing, he did it like I had fought him several times and he beat me. So he was continuing to fight me because I was losing. And as soon as I won, he disconnected.
Yeah, yeah.
It was, it's not great. It's not great is the best way I can put that. But yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. Outside of that moment, I mean, I was playing Smash. After that, I was just kind of playing Smash regularly instead of online and doing some other stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else? I've been thinking about Dark Souls again recently, which mean whenever that happens, it usually means I'm going to play Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2, which is, I don't know why. I just come back to them every now and then. And that's
well, they are good games. That's for sure.
I don't know. There's some sick, deranged part of me that continues to go back to Dark Souls 2, even though I dislike it a lot.
Do you know what? I've found that there's a lot of games that I think I dislike, and then I play them a couple more times, and they're still really good.
It's literally a self-fulfilling prophecy. I play it, I dislike it. I play it, I dislike it. It's literally like, oh, maybe I'll play Dark Souls 2 again. I haven't done that in a while. Maybe I'll enjoy it this time. Plays through the entire game. Welp, never doing that again. 6 months later, well, I might as well play through Dark Souls 2 again. I remember enjoying some of it. Plays through entire game again. Man, why do I keep doing this to myself?
Yeah, I get you.
I don't like. There are like a couple NPCs in the game that I just enjoy, and like I do find myself kind of enjoying like the beginning, but after you get to, I think it's Huntsman's Cops, the game just starts dragging and it starts becoming very unenjoyable.
Yeah.
Dark Souls 2 is too long.
It is, actually.
It is way too long. And the extra DLC just adds hours onto what is already a long game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I've been doing this week pretty much. I might do other things to report on. I don't know. We'll see if I have time. But yes, and that's what I've been doing this week. So unless anybody else has something to talk about, we'll just move on to trailers.
Ooh. Let's see what the trailers are this week.
Yes.
Well,
so anything else before we move into trailers? Just, no?
Not really.
Okay. First trailer we have for today is for Tunic, a game that was revealed during the Game Awards. Which, well, the release date for it was. The Tunic has been known about for like I think over a year at this point, and this is the release date of the game. So Tunic is a cutesy isometric adventure game in the, what's the term? Not in the style, but I guess in the style of your old Zelda games. kind of thing, except you're playing as a very cute fox. You play as a fox in a tunic, in a green little tunic. It's very cute. But yeah, it's a isometric adventure game in the style of like your old school Zeldas before they turned to 3D, or even just making a more recent example like the remade Link's Awakening. If you've probably seen that, Matthew, the remake of Link's Awakening.
Yeah, I've seen stuff about that.
Okay, so it's kind of in that, and the graphics aren't too dissimilar actually.
No.
It's very cartoony and has a very like kind of cell shaded-esque style to it that I really like. I really like how it looks. It looks visually very nice. It looks very clean but simple. So yeah, I said it was a adventure game, which it is. I don't know what other genre it could be in outside of adventure. It does have a somewhat robust looking combat system at the very least, unlike that of Zelda, which is to say, like, you have a dodge roll. Dodge rolls. Dodge rolls are just things people add to games because Dark Souls made it work.
Yeah.
Which is not a complaint. I think a dodge roll is a very nice little mechanic that does expand the combat to more complexity than just swinging at something. But it is funny how after Dark Souls, so many games and indie games just incorporate dodge rolls.
Have you've ever seen what's it called?
Enter the Gungeon.
Enter the Gungeon
by Dodge Roll.
Yeah,
by
a literal company named after the canon.
A literal development studio called Dodge Roll. But yes, the game looks very cutesy and has a nice art style, and the combat is what I was talking about. The combat looks like more it looks kind of fleshed out. So you have your dodge roll, you have your like standard combos by the looks of it, but you also have like other items you can use. Like you can grab enemies with like a what is it called, a hook shot or a grappling hook of some kind. So you can like grab enemies and pull them towards you. It also looks like it has a fair emphasis on, well, exploration and puzzle solving, as with any Zelda game. But I don't know, it just looks it looks very cutesy. And oh man, oh, that's interesting. That's something I didn't notice before. The UI, I like the UI a lot. The kind of like 2.5D bars that it has as the UI. It's very simple but nice looking. It is kind of blocky in like a stylistic way. Like the world is a little like blocky.
Yeah, I get where you're going with that. Like,
it's kind of what's a good, it's not like in terms of voxels or whatever, but like it is kind of blocky. I don't know how else to put it. It's very, it has a lot of right angles in the design. But yeah, that's Tunic. It looks, anything to say, Matthew and or the other person, Zach?
it looked really interesting. I've seen lots of games that use similar mechanics, and it looks like it's designed to stand out amongst the rest. Definitely.
Yeah, I'd agree to that. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'd agree with that. What about you, Matthew? Or is there anything else you wanted to say? Zach?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, what about you, Matthew?
Looks fine.
I'm glad I have you here. I really am glad that I have you here, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm really good at this trailer section and some of the other sections too.
Yeah. Any thoughts on it? Are you just gonna say it doesn't look like a game you'd play? Is that all you're gonna say?
No, I don't know about that part.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd rather go out of my way to spend money on it, but there aren't that many games that I go out of my way to spend money on in general.
Well, that's because gaming isn't directly a hobby for you.
Exactly.
Your hobby is more like aligned with tabletop RPGs.
Mhm.
And apparently making game systems. Yeah, normal stuff.
And then Minecraft.
Oh yeah, and then Minecraft. Oh, did I mention I bought another Minecraft account recently?
Jeez, dude, you
I
don't
only have
need
3. It's only 3 in total.
you don't need more than 2.
Yeah, I do. I need more than 2. I have 3 characters on Purgatorics.
Yeah.
Thus, I need an account for each of them so that I can have separate ender chests.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Also,
I believe you.
go from spot to spot.
Mhm.
I totally believe you, and not that you are being a little bit overkill there.
An insane person.
I don't doubt that I'm going a little overboard, but I'd rather have them in the location that they're supposed to be in instead of having to walk all the way back when I need to switch to them for lore reasons.
Right.
And
Anyways.
then have to switch out all of the equipment, etc.
Yeah. That's interesting. How about your thoughts on this game, though?
Looks fine.
Cool.
Looks like a game.
Good to know. Anything else before we move on to the next one?
The next one looks interesting.
All right. Well, I will just say Tunic
Yeah.
is officially releasing on Xbox, all of the Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC and Mac on March 16th next year. So
It's
Gotta-
always a good sign to see a game drop on Mac. That means that the game designers actually want it to reach people. Because honestly, not a lot of people use Mac. Because Mac is pretty useless.
Well, a lot of people are predisposed to PC just because of, it's the thing that won, basically.
Yeah.
To some degree, a lot of people are just predisposed to PC just because it's what they grew up with.
Yeah,
There's nothing inherently wrong with Mac except for the fact that Apple owns it. But,
yeah.
I mean, I could say the same thing for Microsoft, to be perfectly honest. Well, Microsoft doesn't own PC, but Microsoft does own, Windows, which is the primary operating system that most PCs have. So,
Yeah. Well, unless you decide that you want to torture yourself and use Linux.
Or what's the other one? What is it called? There is another one.
There is another one, but it's not in Opera, and it hasn't been updated since you can't get a 16-bit 16 channel x86 x64 copy of it, so don't pick it up.
Yeah, but outside of that, outside of our small complaints and distastes for what was I going to say? Mac, not Mac. Yeah, it's good that it's coming to Mac. It's
nice that it's coming to Mac.
It is nice that it's coming to Mac. But yes. But that was Tunic. Moving onwards to our second and last trailer of the day, which is Have a Nice Death, which was revealed during the Gaming Awards. I also want to take an aside before I go through this, and the fact that you might be curious, why am I not talking about more games that were revealed during the Gaming Awards? Well, let me tell you. I've seen all of the games, with the exception of maybe one or two that got revealed at the Game Awards. I just didn't have a lot of interest in many of them. And even some of them were just kind of like,
Bad.
well, yeah, some of them were definitely bad. A lot of them, like specifically Star Wars Eclipse, there was literally nothing I could have said about that. It was just a CGI cinematic that has probably nothing to do with the actual game is going to be like. Also, it's made by what is that different studio called? Frick.
That's a great name for development studio.
It's made by, give me a second. This is good. I need to get this right, otherwise it's going to annoy me. It's made by, if I can get this. Come on, load. Quantic Dream. There we go. Quantic Dream. It's made by Quantic Dream, which, if you don't recognize that name, are the same people behind. Well, it's the David Cage studio. It's the same guys behind like what was that game? The one about androids. All of their games are like point and click-esque like games that are mostly just quick action or quick time events with like movie bits. That's like all of their games. They made like Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy. They made, what else they made? They made a lot. It's those games. You know what I'm talking about, even though Matthew isn't here, and you know what I'm talking about. It's Quantic Dream. Anyways, it doesn't, I don't really care about Star Wars Eclipse just because, oh, there was another Star Wars game that was announced that was Star Wars Hunters, I think it was, which is literally a mobile title that looks crap. Yeah, I could talk about all the games that were revealed at the Game Awards. Many of them I just didn't care about and didn't have a lot to say about. So that's why we're only looking at these two, which happen to pique my interest the most. Anyways, moving on to Have a Nice Death. Have a Nice Death is a 2D action platformer that is 2D animated, I believe. It's like what's the term? There was something for it. Where was it? I believe it said. I believe
from what I saw, it was a roguelike.
It might be. I believe I read somewhere that it was hand-drawn animation. Like 2D hand-drawn animation, I believe is what I read somewhere. I wish I could find it though.
So the art style reminded me, have you ever played the game World of Goo?
Maybe, yes.
It's a puzzle game, or older one actually. It reminded me of that art style, or the art style of the game made by the same creators, Little Inferno.
Yeah, it is vaguely reminiscent. Get this thing to load. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to find out if my claim was right or was correct or not.
Yeah.
I don't think my claim was right. I'm going to assume it was wrong just in case. I don't want to be spreading false information. Yeah, so I feel like I read somewhere that it was hand-drawn 2D animation, but I am thinking I'm wrong now that I'm looking for it. So ignore that. But don't ignore Have a Nice Death, which looks very good. But Have a Nice Death is a game where you play as Death, going through his company and basically reestablishing dominance over his rascally workers as the head of Death Corp, as I think what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a action 2D platformer. It is also, you are correct, it is a roguelite. It is a roguelite. So the gameplay looks very, very nice and fluid. Like, what's the term? Like, it looks super nice and fluid, very fast paced. It looks like you have a lot of things you can do to enemies as well. Like, it looks like you have some kind of like grab attack as well as just fast-paced combos and all of that. Yes. Yeah, Have a Nice Death. It looks I do genuinely love the look of it. Like, I love how it's animated. It looks freaking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the title is a pun, which I can get behind. Yes. So Earl, where was it? What am I looking? I'm trying to figure out. CNC. Man, why do they have to be? Hold on, let me reopen this. What is Matthew back? Oh yes. Well, what are your thoughts on the game while I look for the studio who made this?
I will say I do like the art style, but it looks. I believe it looks somewhat entertaining.
Good to know.
Not good at judging things without actually trying the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's fair, but like,
Yeah.
just from a glance, I mean, it looks fun. It does look fun. It looks nice. Yeah. Okay. Magic Design Studios is the developers behind this, and I don't think I don't think I've heard them for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
They're all okay. As far as I can tell, their only other game was Unruly Heroes, which was released 2 years ago.
So it's a nice looking new indie studio.
Yeah, it's a relatively new indie studio. Oh man, Unruly Heroes looks really good too. Sorry, getting distracted now. But their previous game, Unruly Heroes, looks super good as well. Anyways, but Have a Nice Death is coming to early access on Steam March 20. I assume it does not give a specific date, but it's coming March next year. So early access for March next year. And if I had a PC to play it on, I would go for it. Unfortunately, I do not. I do not.
Yeah.
I also do not know if it is coming to anything else. Currently, Steam appears to be the only place to get it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. It looks like I said, it looks very good, and I'm just a sucker for 2D animation at all. So I also just like I don't know. I've always liked Death as a figure, like as a figure character. I've always liked Death, especially when he's like this overworked kind of like, where Death is like an office job kind of setting where it's like, I'm overworked because of what's happening and I'm just kind of like bored and tired. I don't know. I've always liked that kind of character type for death. Like a good example of that is like death in freaking, what is that book series called? Why can't I remember it now?
Oh. I no idea.
Matthew, you should know. It's the one with Ankh Morkboard in it. What's that? What's guy called? Discworld. That's what it's called. The Discworld. Death in the Discworld. I've always liked that interpretation.
Terry Pratchett.
What?
You should have said Terry Pratchett.
I couldn't remember his name.
I have no idea what you were talking about. I haven't actually read Discworld, so
That's fine. Discworld and Terry Pratchett. I like that interpretation of death a lot as well. Anyways, I just kind of like the characters of death, and I enjoy when he's put in kind of like a very what's the term? Like real world, not real world, but like what's the term? It's because it's like you have this concept of like death and you're just turning it into essentially like office work.
relatable.
I suppose relatable is a good word to use. I can't quite think of what I'm trying to describe it as, but I just like that type of setting and idea. Anyways, Have a Nice Death looks very good, and unless either of you have something more to say about it, we will just move on.
Mm-hmm.
Take that as a no. So, moving swiftly onwards to host topics. I'm assuming we don't have one.
Have we ever done tutorial design good and bad examples of tutorial design in video games?
Don't think so.
Okay.
Feels like a topic that should have been discussed, but maybe
yeah,
we
no,
haven't.
I
I
don't
don't know.
think
We've
so.
done like 37 of these. How many have we done? Wait, what is today's episode? Today's episode is 38, I think. Is that right? Anyways, you can, but yeah, that's a good that's a good topic though. Why don't you start?
So when you're talking about good tutorial design, there's only one game that really comes to mind. I think you've heard of it. It's called Portal.
Yes.
Don't worry, I'll bring up Minecraft as the other example.
Minecraft doesn't have a tutorial.
Yeah, that's terrible tutorial design. But no, there's something worse than just not having a tutorial. So Portal, instead of when you launch up a new game of Portal, or even better, Portal 2, you'll be started with a simple prompt on what buttons you have to press to move, and then you will get a voice chat from GLaDOS just explaining how you've slept in for a few hundred years. And then the first portal opens and it lets you, this is just the first room, it lets you understand that basically from you, the portals connect 2 points in space without really saying that that's how, like, without going into detail on that's how portals work. They just show you.
Yeah. Portal has a very good tutorial system, or just very good at showcasing you what the mechanics are.
Yeah. And then as you play through, you go through things like how to use boxes and buttons, but they never truly go up to you and say, put box on button.
Yeah.
Because
that's
just...
Yeah.
How many tutorials have you played where it just says put box on button?
I mean,
something like that.
Yeah, there are definitely bad tutorials that do go about it in that way of just either giving you a wall of text to read or just kind of like telling you to do a certain thing, because of the what's the term?
So yeah,
To
Portal
prove
is
you can do it, to prove you can, play this game that you bought.
Portal is a great game for just showing you. It teaches you all the mechanics just from the environment you're playing in, and a couple sound cues from GLaDOS, who is like one of the best characters in gaming ever.
GLaDOS is very fun.
But honestly, I'm going to say the worst tutorial experience I've ever had has to be in a game called Hearts of Iron 4. It's a strategy game, so you kind of expect the tutorial to be a bit more heavy-handed than Portal, because you immediately need to know what half of the things on the screen are actually doing. But the problem with Hearts of Iron 4's tutorial is it drops you in a campaign and starts showing you how to do things, but they don't really tell you how to do things. They just say, this is what you need to do. It was pretty bad, and I just ended up going to Google to find the tutorial, to be honest with you.
Yeah, strategy games, I'm not going to say all strategy games, but I feel strategy games specifically have a bit of a tendency to they give you a scenario where you have to succeed at a certain thing, but it doesn't wholeheartedly give you the proper experience that you would need to play a game from base one.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a difference, and it's not wholly the fault of strategy games. It's just a byproduct of how they're designed. But there's a difference between a scenario the game loads you in to teach you about the game and starting the game from,
fresh.
the very beginning.
Yeah.
Even if it does teach you everything, there are definitely some things you'll be confused about and have questions about just because, you only employed them in a specific, way.
Actually, I'm going to point out one other strategy game that is a little bit worse than Hearts of Iron 4, and that is Dwarf Fortress when it comes to tutorials. But that's just because Dwarf Fortress is what it is.
Yeah.
Good luck finding a good tutorial for that game.
I mean, that's a byproduct of the fact that Dwarf Fortress is very old. And tutorials didn't really exist in the past.
Yeah.
Tutorials started becoming inexistent when games got a third dimension.
Yeah. Well, that's true, but even Mario technically the original Mario has a tutorial, but you just don't see it.
Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between a modern tutorial and a old school video game style of what they would consider a tutorial, because old school video games, especially stuff like Mario on the NES and even Castlevania, they don't have tutorials where they teach you about something. They just have gameplay moments that teach you about the world you're in. Specifically, one of the most common examples of a quote unquote tutorial you will find in old platformers is a gap that you have to jump, but beneath the gap is something that can catch you if you fail. So it gives you space, or not space, what's the term? It gives you the ability to fail at a jump repeatedly and not die.
Yeah.
And so it gives you all the time in the world to learn this jump and what the jump arc is in order to succeed. That's a very common thing that you'll find in a lot of old games. with like
Yeah.
bottomless pits and stuff.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, definitely.
and the difference between that and let's just use Call of Duty as an example, just because it's probably the most blatant, or one of the more blatant ones, is like a tutorial in Call of Duty is like, go to point A, shoot point B. You know, it's essentially a what's the term? Like what's a good way to describe it? But like, you know, it's not very interactive.
Yeah.
It just tells you what to do and you do it.
Yeah. And let's bring up an example of interactive tutorials. So, again, Portal has a little bit of this, but I'm trying to think of another game that has a good one.
Mm-hmm. Matthew, do you want to participate in this, or are you waiting for Minecraft?
No, I just don't have anything really to say.
Well, you could say something about Minecraft's lack of tutorial, or currently. Minecraft technically has a tutorial now just because the book gives you recipes, but that's about it.
Yeah,
I mean, also, there's a little thing at the beginning of the game that tells you how to move in the upper right-hand corner, and also tells you to punch a tree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not really a
I
tutorial
don't think
for.
Minecraft needs a tutorial, so
Not
Yeah.
as such, but
especially with how many there are on the internet.
like, I know all of the crafting recipes because I know all of them.
Yeah.
I didn't have a book to tell me what they were.
But do you know all of the modern ones? How do you craft a spyglass?
I don't know. After the hopper, my crafting recipe knowledge kind of falls off a little bit.
Here, give me a guess. How do you craft a spyglass?
I believe it was 2 copper and a amethyst shard.
I mean, yeah, but you played the newer version.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyways, but Minecraft doesn't necessarily need a tutorial, but it is nice, at least for current generation of players, that it is nice to have a book that tells you what the recipes are.
That's nice for everyone who builds, because you can just click on something and rapid fire get it in there, because it was just annoying after a little.
Well, I mean, without the book, there is literally nothing to say what the recipes were, is the thing.
Well, it's the fact that you can click on the book, and if you have the ingredients, it'll just make the recipe ready. So
yeah.
you can click on that a few times to get several in there, so that you don't have to shape it a dozen times. And then around to make the shape correct.
Basically,
I suppose.
Have any of you ever used JEI?
Never heard of it.
Just enough items.
Oh, yes, I've heard of it. I've messed around with it.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with too many items.
It's
it's the same mod.
Wide screen, show everything in a box.
Yeah.
Instead of a compact book that you can close.
Yeah. JI is much better than the book. It has a better search bar, and it is based, Just Enough Items was based on Not Enough Items, I believe. Was it called? It was originally called
Many items?
Too many. I don't remember.
Yeah. Just Enough Items came out because, I think it was Too Many Items. Stopped being updated, and as of 1.7, so it's just someone else's update of it, and it's been going on since then.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it works better than the crafting book most of the time.
But are you able to just click on a thing and make it start crafting?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has a lot of nice uses. You can click R on it to show the recipe for what it is. You can click U on it to show what it's used for.
Mm-hmm.
You can, if you're in creative, cheat and give yourself stuff.
Yeah, even
And-
stuff that isn't in the creative menu, like spawners.
Yeah, it's a really good like little tool.
That sounds weird.
Yes, it is very nice. Yeah, like Minecraft didn't even have tooltips at one point. Didn't even tell you what the names of things were.
It didn't even tell you. I mean, it doesn't normally tell you unless you turn on the tooltip, but it doesn't always tell you the durability.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like you would hover over. When I say tooltips, I mean like you hover over an item in your inventory, and it tells you what it is.
Yeah,
It didn't exist at one point in Minecraft. You just hover over a thing in your inventory, and it's just that's a thing.
That's why it's called the workbench.
Another.
I mean, I think it was also called that for a little bit, like by the people who play.
Another good tutorial that I've played through was in Undertale. It still contained a lot of read this, but that's just because it's a JRPG. And they have a tendency to get a little bit wordy when it comes to storylines.
Yeah.
Especially because it's not voiced at all. But the whole tutorial is based around starting you off and showing you how the basic mechanics work through not just in-game explanations, but it's the tutorial region in Undertale is the perfect way to make a tutorial that is in the story of the game.
Yeah.
Like it's physically tied into the story of the game.
It works very well.
Instead of you getting a pop-up explaining how Spider-Man can do something that you have to learn to make Spider-Man do.
I will say, like that is a fair example, but I will say, in the old Spider-Man games, having Bruce Campbell be the narrator for your tutorial is just the best thing. Just say,
yeah.
Like
now,
yeah, I assume you're meaning like the more recent games, but like,
yeah,
in the old Spider-Man games, having just Bruce Campbell be your like tutorial guide was very fun.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, like Undertale has a great tutorial. It shows you the ropes pretty quickly. And then you don't feel like the tutorial is, if you play through it enough, because Undertale is meant to be played through a minimum of 3 times.
Yeah.
If you want to play the game, you should play it through at least 3 times.
I mean, if you want to get the endings anyways.
Yeah, if you want to understand what the heck's going on, you're going to have to play through it at least twice.
But what if I want all of the endings?
Then you're probably going to, I think there's like 30 if you're going for every single neutral ending.
Well, the neutral ones are just based on certain things that happen or don't happen.
Yeah,
which is why they're
based on
so many.
How many people you murdered. Definitely how many people you murdered. From everybody's happy, but only Alfie's. I'm gonna admit this. It's always been pretty obvious that Elfie offs herself on all but the passive ascending. Which is sadly pretty dark, but
it's it's
part of Undertale.
I mean, you're literally killing everybody, so
well, no, like even if you complete the game being a good person, unless you go specifically for the pacifist ending, Elfies will still die. Because she is not in a good headspace, is the best way to describe that. Which is why there is the pacifist neutral ending where you still get a neutral ending, but you haven't really killed anybody.
Haven't really.
Yeah. You just haven't saved everyone's lives.
It's hard, man.
It is.
Yes.
I'm seeing Matthew over there. I don't think he's ever played Undertale before.
No, he had what?
I haven't.
I was gonna say you have the ability to. It's on the Switch.
I'm actually going to be getting it on my computer
Oh, really?
to stream.
Okay.
Okay.
Just don't listen to players who ask you to level grind.
Anyway,
Well, if you're gonna play it, it's very moral.
I've seen stuff about the game.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying,
I
like,
know
choose
that-
your moral path. If you feel like killing a couple frogs, who's to stop you?
Yeah.
Who's to stop you?
I remembered another game, actually, I think it's two, that don't really have tutorials, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Shining Force and Shining Force 2.
Okay.
But they are really simple games, too, in mechanics. So I don't really think they need tutorials.
Well, they are both even if it's simple, they are both, still, tactical RPGs.
Yeah.
So, also, I mean, those would have also come from an era where tutorials were not like super a thing.
Fair.
So it makes sense. I don't technically have a tutorial. Anyways, yeah, tutorials. I was gonna bring up, like, personally, I think a lot of modern tutorials are bad, but that's just because of the generalization of the gaming market. Like, the reason we have tutorials like this is because people actually do need them. Because of how general the gaming market has become.
The biggest problem is when a large studio creates a game, they always leave the tutorial for the crunch, the big crunch at the end of the release crunch. And that is the worst place to play in your tutorial.
It's also just something you shouldn't do. Why would you crunch? Crunch is bad.
Well, in the creation of any game, there is going to be a release crunch.
Well, here's the thing. There doesn't have to be.
Yeah, that's true. You could decide to push back release dates, but
it's not even a release date thing. It's literally just a scope thing. It's like, we're going to release it then. It's like, okay, we don't have time to do that. I don't care. I don't care if you do not have time to do that. That is the day we decided it was going to come out.
Yep.
Therefore, you will work 100 hours, 100-hour plus weeks, and deprive yourselves of the things that humans need to survive in order to get a fucking video game out.
Yeah, no, that's never a good sign.
Yeah.
But that's why you'll see on a game that had a heavy crunch, you'll see a huge amount of block text tutorials, and those things are I'm not sure how they even make it past UX anymore. Because
yeah, I don't block tutorials work, but they're also just like hard to go through because it's boring as all hell to just read block text for an hour.
Here's how I deal with block text tutorials. Hit the X button in the corner and don't read it. Figure it out.
Well, that works for some games, but also doesn't work for others, because sometimes there are intricate mechanics that are not going to be told to you, or you're going to be able to figure out without a text block.
Yeah.
Who needs mechanics? They're complicated.
And sometimes sometimes I'll admit text blocks are necessary, especially with any like RPG game, but
yeah,
or like anything where you're commanding lots of characters or RTS, it's super required. Like, it's definitely required, but
yeah, but yeah, it's just it's just a problem of the modern gaming industry that won't go away until video game companies, specifically not specifically publishers, figure out that, you know, games can be smaller and still be successful. Yeah. Anyways, like it's insane. Like why do games cost so much to make? There's no reason why it should cost that much to make a game.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to cost that much to make a game. You're just spending too much money in the wrong places.
Yeah, if
we
you were
spent $100,000 on making this game look as realistic as physically possible. It's like, great. What else did you do? Get back to us on that. That's the story of what was it called? The Order 1886. You remember that? Do you remember that game? Order 1886?
No.
To put it simply, The Order 1886 is a game that was, I think, 5 hours long or something. It looked gorgeous, but there was no gameplay to speak of. So yeah. Anyways, moving back to tutorials, the one thing I will say outside of like the block text thing is, I think, just to bring up Dark Souls, I think Dark Souls' tutorial is perfectly acceptable. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it is very simple. Dark Souls tutorial consists of basically, and this is the same for I think all of the Souls games, with the exception of, I guess, technically Bloodborne, just because of how it works. But basically, in the original Dark Souls, or even Demon Souls, you start out at this location, and the tutorial is conveyed to you through these little messages that you physically have to read yourself. So you can skip over the tutorial if you want, even as a beginner, if you just don't read them. So you read those messages on the ground that just tells you the generic commands for the buttons, and it's very simple and, you know, not overly complex, but I think it works for what Dark Souls goes for, especially since it gives you a lot of time to get familiar with the controls, just via proxy of the player, especially a new one, is probably going to die a lot to the tutorial boss. Isn't that right, Matthew?
Huh?
Matthew. What?
Phased out. Sorry.
Honestly, like we're talking about Dark Souls and how you could die a lot.
Oh, that's why I phased out. I see.
I mean, you do die a lot if you're new to the game, especially to the tutorial, just because.
Sure.
I mean, it's not even like, it's just a like new player. Well, it just kind of depends on how comfortable you are with the controls. I think it works fine for what it's going for. It could probably be a little better, but I don't necessarily see how you could specifically improve it beyond what it was made for. Anyways, yeah, tutorials. There's lots of good ones and lots of bad ones. You know, I don't know. We kind of just went on a rant. I think that topic has not been exhausted per se, but I think we've reached our end point with that topic.
Yeah.
We kind of went on a rant. So anyways.
News, which is the...
Yes, it is. The news is the next thing. Okay, so the news, if my thing can load. Crap. Well, aha, there we go. Oh, I already had it open. I'm an idiot. Yes, the news. The news is not like super exciting or like over the top. Like I said before, it's just the Game Awards, so we're just going to be skimming through the Game Awards and talking about some of the winners and or other things. It's very long. If you want to look at the full like list of like the winners and the nominations, you'll find it in the description if you want to look at it. But yeah. So the Game Awards 2021. Let's at least talk about Game of the Year at the very least, because that's like a big one. So Game of the Year, the nominations for Game of the Year were Deathloop.
Cyberpunk 2077.
What did you say?
I said Cyberpunk 2077. From all I've heard about it, it's really good.
Nope,
It
it's not
has
a
no
list. So
bugs.
Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village were all nominated as Game of the Year. It Takes Two ended up winning that nomination, ended up winning that section, which out of these nominations, I would agree on it to at least some degree. It Takes Two definitely did a lot of very cool, interesting things and gameplay styles that I don't think, it's not like we haven't seen them before, but it delivered it in a very fun package experience. And also, it's a very unique experience because it's an entirely two-player game. So, Takes Two. What about you? Words.
It Takes Two is a really unique game that I was genuinely surprised to see on the market. We need more good co-op multiplayer games.
Yeah, it's also just kind of like I was just saying, it's kind of like a nice small experience. It's not like overproduced. It has like a decent story and setup, and its gameplay is always just giving you new things to explore and do. It very much works, and I think Game of the Year is a fine. I think that's a fine words. I think it's deserved. There we go. It is finally deserved. That's the word I was looking for. The other nominations, I mean, I've been a lot of time to play a lot of games, so I personally haven't played many of the games on the nomination list. However, I don't know. I have a personal bias when it comes to Ratchet and Clank, but that's just me.
So other games are on there. There was
best game direction, Deathloop, the same. It Takes Two. That's two Ratchet and Clank for best game.
Yeah.
Deathloop was the winner.
Deathloop is a great game from what I've seen of it. Not that I've ever played it, mainly just watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, Deathloop is definitely interesting. It did not do a great job before its release. Deathloop didn't do a great, or at least like the marketing team for Deathloop didn't do a great job at selling me on the game. And also I was still very confused about what certain aspects of the game was about before its release. So I don't think its marketing was stellar, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely is a great, well-directed game with a lot of well-thought-out storylines. It definitely feels like Majora's Mask in a way. Very similar plot.
Yeah, I mean, when you have like a looping mechanic,
You're gonna end up feeling like Majora's Mask.
I mean, to some degree, that was one of the first, well, not one of the first, but I'd argue one of the games to use a looping mechanic the best, at least in terms of the time it was released.
Otherwise, Deathloop is a solid pickup as if you just want to pick up a game. Like, and
Yeah.
honestly, it's the story that really matters in a game where the story is constantly looping in circles.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain that, but like every little detail in that game really got thought through. And you can definitely see that. And it really does advocate for having a smaller time frame in your game to think through what's going to happen rather than trying to make a infinitely sized open world experience.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Just kind of skimming the list here. The one thing that stands out to me the most, I think, in this entire list is the winner of Best Narrative, which was the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game.
Well, sadly it's a Marvel item, and
I mean, but like, I would argue. I mean, It Takes Two story was, from what I remember, all right in its own way. I don't particularly care for Life is Strange, but and but like, really, narrative. Not even Psychonaut. Like, I'd argue Psychonauts probably has a more interesting narrative than that.
No, honestly, I think people just voted for that because it's familiar. And also
Yeah.
it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Who doesn't like Guardians of the Galaxy? Except their rendition in Endgame. They were pretty bad in Endgame.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose. Anyways, listen, I already said before that we're just gonna be skimming. Like, it would be very boring if I just listed off every entry over and over again. But like, I don't know, I think I've said this before. I don't like particularly care for the Game Awards that much. I think it's just kind of like a weird thing. As with a lot of award shows, I don't like a lot of award shows to me are just kind of like overproduced and are just excuses to sell you things, which is not like the worst thing, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like there's also the fact that awards are generally picked by, and I don't remember, are the Game Awards a popularity contest in terms of like voting from audience members, or is it like a picked thing because that actual like members of a board of people pick from? Because I don't remember if that's the case or not.
I have no idea.
But I don't know. There's a lot of award shows, generally speaking, to me at least, don't cover a lot of like the wider gaming industry and more focus on the smaller AAA aspects of it. I mean, like, there is a section for indie games, and an indie game did win Best Game of the Year, so it's not like it's super stacked against things, but like, I don't know. They're like a lot of nominations and or like, how do I like what's the term? Like, the categories, that's the word. Like, I don't think there are a lot of categories, but I feel like there should be more specific categories, or at the very least, like a smaller set of more refined categories for games to be picked from. Because it's kind of like the deck is stacked against certain games just because of where they sit, even if they do deserve some kind of recognition. I feel like certain games get stacked against just because of the way, award shows work in general, especially like big ones like Game of the Year or other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything against like awarding praise to things that deserve it, but like I feel like things could be a tad more like what's the word? I don't know the word. Better is the best word my brain can come up with. Anyways, that's like Game of the Year and weird other things. I will just say most anticipated game is Elden Ring, which does not horribly surprise me. It's the Game Awards. There's not a whole lot I can talk about unless I just want to go through the whole thing and talk about each entry one by one, which is what I did last year, which was very boring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this. Anyways.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the news, essentially, unless either of you have something you want to talk about specifically. All right. So yes, that's the end of the news, and that's the end of the Gaming Awards. I think I've made my piece on that. I'll probably continue to cover them, as long as I'm doing this show, but I'll probably find a better way to cover them that isn't as boring. Mm-hmm. So that's the news. Swiftly moving on to Shameless Self-Promotion, the part of the show where we shamelessly self-promote ourselves. So Zachary, I assume you don't have anything else to shamelessly self-promote unless you want to like throw a D&D campaign at somebody to get more members, but that's probably not something you want to do.
Yeah, the only I only really would want more on a public D&D game, but that is in a specific city, and I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, that is fair. That is completely fair. All right, then. In that case, Matthew, what have you got coming up, and where can people find it, and or you, and just stuff in general?
Yourself. Well, what I have coming up is the 3rd episode of my Minecraft thing, and then I need to record another episode of it and upload that. But I'm also streaming on Twitch when I'm able to, which has been 3 days so far this past week, I believe. Mm-hmm. That's a thing.
That's a thing.
Yeah, currently I'm just posting on Hologram, the gaming channel. Mm-hmm. I'll probably start making music again for my other channel soon because I can get Cakewalk again and can install a MIDI key station stuff. I just have to figure out how.
All right. What about all that editing that you have to do?
What are you talking about?
For that massive series that you've want to post.
Which one?
The D&D campaign.
Which one?
God, you're the worst.
Once again, which one?
You're the worst. You do so much to yourself that is just completely unwarranted. Anyways, so is that it?
I enjoy it.
What? So is that it? Is that what you've been doing?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna set a deadline so that I have a certain amount of time to work on it because I've been procrastinating. I will have it out by Sunday. By Sunday evening.
Have what out?
The episode 3. No, wait, it's episode 4. No, it would be episode 3. Ugh. Counting from 0, 1, 2, 3. Because episode 3 is day 2, so it's making my brain confused.
Of what?
It's just of what? Wait, what?
Yeah. What show? What
Oh
video?
yeah, right. That's important too, isn't it?
What are you talking about?
So the series that I'm editing and posting is called Minimalist.
Mhm.
It's just where I'm going for more minimal, so like only a stack of any given item in my inventory at a time. That includes tools, but
Okay.
also different enchantments separate things. That's the concept of the series, like smaller builds that still look nice, that kind of thing. Minimal, you know.
Okay.
But that's what I'm editing. It's fun. It's fun to just chill, mess around.
All right then.
Oh yeah, and each episode is only covering one in-game day of recording, so 20 minutes of footage edited down.
All right then. Is that it though? And people can find you, Thologram, all that stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube under Thologram, and I technically exist on Twitter, but there's no point in going there. And then I exist on the Twitch under Mystical Meanderings because usernames,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I see.
Oh, and then my music and other stuff channel is called Mystical Meanderings, but I haven't uploaded on it in a while, so.
There's a private D&D session on there. This is the first of the test campaign thing you did. That's still on there. Anyways, is that it though, Matthew?
Yup.
All right, moving on to me then. All right. As per usual, the podcast will continue to come out. I don't recall if I mentioned this off recording or not, but next week will be the final episode of the year, which coincidentally coincides with our 1 year anniversary of doing the podcast. Randomly.
Neat.
I don't know why it lined up like that so well, but it did. So, but yeah, we'll continue to be doing the podcast as per usual, but next week will be the final episode of the year until the 8th, I believe. Or not the 8th, what is it? Until the 9th of next month because of Christmas and New Year's Day, which I don't want to record anything on because we record these on Saturday. I don't know if it really matters. We record these in advance. What a shock.
Yeah.
Yes, next week will be the 1 year anniversary of us doing the podcast. Don't know what we're going to do. Maybe we'll celebrate and do something interesting. It depends on what happens. We'll see. Tune in next time and you'll see something fun, probably.
That's next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, got it.
It's technically we will record it a day after the initial episode got uploaded, which was the 17th of December.
Cool.
And the episode will be uploaded on the 19th of December because we record things in advance. Or no, sorry, the 12th of December. No, sorry, the 19th of December. I can't count. Shut up.
Hey, you can't math either. Glad to hear.
Anyways, that aside, so tune in next time for something possibly different or not, who knows. But as per usual, the podcast will continue to be uploaded on YouTube and SoundCloud, GTD Podcast, and the Gaming, the Discussion. You can find me on Twitter at Gaming, the Discussion, or Gaming the Disca with an at by it. I don't know why. It's just what it turned out to be. Where I don't do much other than post when the episode goes live, and that's about it. I'm really I don't have a reason to use Twitter. I've said this before. And like I said last week, there are other things in the works for the channel. which will probably not happen until after the end of the year, just based on December being busy for everything. I mentioned I'm doing something else with Max. We'll see when that happens. I don't have a distinct date, but I'm doing something with Max that will appear on the channel at some point.
Nice.
And outside of that, that's basically it. You know,
You're gonna make a portal gun. That's what your project is with Max,
no,
right? You're not making
No,
a
I'm not.
functioning portal gun?
no, I'm not.
That would have been
Yes, that is it for me. I might do something. Like I said, then we'll do something for the year anniversary. Maybe we'll, I don't know, do something.
Yeah, we'll do something. Certainly.
So yes, then that was Shameless Self-Promotion. So thank you all so much for watching this episode of the GT podcast. I hope you enjoyed whatever rambling mess we did this time. Hopefully all the episodes have been enjoyable. It's kind of crazy that we've almost done this for a year already, honestly. But you know, we'll get to that when we get to it. Yeah, thanks you all so much for watching. Do all that stuff that do all that stuff that allows us to be viewed by other people outside of you, like sharing and all that. You know how it goes.
Yep.
And yeah, see you all next time, probably. Assuming we even have an episode next week. Wouldn't that just be the stupidest thing if the year anniversary is the 1 week we can't record for some reason? That would just be stupid.
We can make it so we can record.
Right. And
Trust.
no, hopefully Max will be there for the anniversary. You know, hopefully he'll be available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he's not, then well, I don't even
As
remember.
I said, we can make sure he's there.
If he wasn't, well, I don't even remember if he was there for the first episode. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyways, once again, thank you all so much for watching, and see you later.
Goodbye.
Yes, I need to have a
Goodbye,
proper
people.
like ending message.
Hey, but there weren't any belated goodbyes this time.
Yeah, you're right.